Guys, so let's discuss about another constraint, the second constraint, which is not null constraint. So this is another constraint. The first constraint which we discussed in our previous videos, that was primary key constraint. Now today we are going to discuss this constraint, which is not null constraint. This is another type of constraint which is available in any database, relational database, and can be created with the help of SQL language. So to understand the importance of this constraint, let me give you a few examples. For example, if you want to have this teachers column, that all the teachers should provide their names while entering data in this table. So you don't want to leave or left any of the name of any teacher. So you need to apply not null constraint on this attribute. So here over here you can see that the Ahmad's data is available, but phone number is missing, which means this attribute in this attribute row number 2 has in the phone number column there is no value given, which means it's missing or user has not provided value for that particular row. So if you want to force user to provide values for a particular column and you don't want to leave that particular attributes, any row of that particular attribute, don't want to leave it empty, and you want to have all the cells values, so you need to create constraint for that particular attribute, and the constraint name to apply on that particular attribute is not null constraint. So if I apply not null constraint on the teacher name, then it will force all the teachers, all the users who are providing data for this particular attribute need to provide data for this particular attribute. And if they are not providing the data, system is going to warn them an error, and that error will show them that you need to provide data for that particular attribute. So let me show you. Let's create this table again and apply not null attribute on teachers column, teachers name column, and phone number column. So let me show you this, how to create a not null attribute on this particular columns. So let's execute it. So I already have written this query, and the query is available over here. So let's create table. The table name is teachers. Let's make it teachers 2. Now the table name is teachers 2. Create table teachers 2, and the first attribute name is teacher ID, and the size data type of this attribute is number, and the size is 3. And I want to make this attribute as primary key, so I have just written primary key over here. So this column will become primary key. And now if you want to create teacher name as not null, so that means user is going to provide data. User has to provide data for this attribute, and without providing data, data will not be entered in the database. So if you want to force user to provide data, you just need to write not null over here. So this not null constraint will be applied on this teacher name column. And now while inserting data in this table, user will have to provide data for this particular attribute. If user is not providing data for this attribute, user will be warned with the error. Now, for example, this attribute, this constraint which is created over here does not have any name. So the name of this attribute will be automatically generated from from the system, and that will be system given name constraint, and that constraint name is not null constraint. And if you want to provide name for this particular constraint, you need to write constraint word over here. So let's create a phone number, and this phone number should not be empty, and user must provide values for this attribute. So I want to create another constraint and make this phone number and apply not null constraint on this phone number attribute. So to apply the constraint on this attribute, and I want to give the name, I want to give some name to this constraint. Therefore I have written constraint and then provide name to this constraint. I'm using phone underscore number and then underscore not null, for example nn, right? So if this is the constraint name which I have just written over here, and then you can write not null. So Not null is the constraint which I want to apply, and I'm giving it a name which is phone underscore number underscore nn. Nn is for the not null, and this is the just giving name to this particular constraint. And to give the name, you just need to write constraint word over here, and then the attribute name should be written before the constraint keyword, so that attribute can be created, and there will be a not null constraint which will be applied on this particular attribute. Now if I create this table, if I run it, now you can see the table is created, and now these two attributes have the constraint applied on the teacher name and the phone number. Not null constraint is applied. Not null constraint are applied. Let's check if these constraints are applied on it or not. To just check, we are going to see the table name is teachers2. So just check over here by writing this command, which was discussed in previous lecture. So select constraint underscore name, constraint underscore type from user constraint where table name equals to teachers2. This will show us the constraint which are created in this table. So system underscore C 00702, this is a constraint which was created on the first name, on the first name column, or you can say the teacher name column, and this is automatically generated constraint name, therefore it is start from the sys. And this was the constraint name which I just created, phone underscore number underscore nn. This is also a constraint which is not null constraint. And sys underscore cs is a primary key constraint, which is again a system generated name for the primary key constraint. So not null constraint help you to protect any attribute, or you can say to restrict any user or force any user to provide data for that particular attribute. If user is not providing data for particular attribute, there will be error shown to the user. So to verify it, let's put use insert command to insert data in it, which will be there will be empty data. Will try to put empty data in the teacher name, and we'll see whatever we get. So insert into table name is teachers2, and then we are going to provide values. So before providing value, let's write the attribute name. The first attribute name is teacher ID. I'm going to provide value for the teacher ID, and then I'll provide value for the address. Okay, address. These value for these two attributes I'll provide, and I will not provide values for the teacher name and the phone number. Then I'm going to see if I get any error or not. So now let's provide values. So teacher ID is 1 and address is, for example, Hyderabad. Now let's execute it. If you see let's see if data can be left empty in the teacher name attribute and phone number attribute. Now see, there is error, or there is warning that cannot insert null value in the teachers table and teachers2 table, and the attribute name is teacher underscore name. So you cannot leave this attribute empty because you have applied not null constraint on this particular attribute. Similarly, if we provide teacher name and we leave the phone number empty, then we'll again get the same error for phone number attribute also. Let's verify it. So teacher underscore name, we are going to provide over here teacher name. So teacher name is Ali. Now I'm providing three values: the teacher ID, teacher name, address. The first value is 1 is for the teacher ID, second name is for the teacher name, and address is Hyderabad. Now if I try to execute it, you will find another error. The error shows that you have not providing value for the phone number, therefore data cannot be inserted, because I have also applied not null constraint on the phone number attribute. So I hope it's clear, not null attribute. And if you have any questions, please provide, just write though your question in the comment section. I'll answer them. Okay, thank you.